Yeah, we're good other than what we can.
And leave us a 5-star review. I'm Dr. Leah Merrill here with Dr. Steve Peters. We're live at the Lola at Westgate. We just attended the final game at Gila River Arena, and the Arizona Coyotes finally got back at Nashville for losing the opener at Gila River Arena 3-1 all those years ago, and they have defeated the Nashville Predators 5-4 tonight to end the era of Gila River Arena on a positive note.
There is so much to talk about. First of all, what the hell happened? We sat there, like we took the party bus out to the arena. We sit down before we even get in our seats. It's 3-0.
Literally.
What the hell happened? The first 4 shots on goal, but Melka gives up 3 of them. This game is 3-0, 4 minutes in. Okay, well, thanks for coming out. Glad we made the trip out to Glendale. And then, as they've done over and over again during this last week, they find a way to come back.
Somehow.
But if they don't dig the hole, think how much easier it is. Anyway, it's good. We are talking about this Coyotes team that finished the season against St. Louis, Minnesota, Dallas, and Nashville, and win 3 of them and 1 of them in overtime. They have 7 out of 8 points against the best teams in the Central Division, except Colorado, which they didn't play. But how did they do against Colorado this year?
They won the season series.
Nailed it.
Absolutely unbelievable. And at this point, once this past week happened and we knew that the Coyotes were going to have 31st place no matter what. First of all, I was feeling very discouraged when we found out that the Montreal Canadiens beat the Florida Panthers 10-2 tonight.
10?
Yeah, because we all saw that one coming. And if that was going to be the thing and the Coyotes winning this game was going to be the thing that spoiled it, I'd be in a very different mood right now. But knowing that they kind of locked up 31st for the Coyotes to trail 4-0, score 5 unanswered goals, come from behind in the final game in front of a very, very energetic crowd, one of the best I've been a part of at Gila River Arena in years. I mean, what a way to
but you're right. And you look at this, if we would have said 2 weeks ago, right, where they were in 32nd 2 weeks ago. They were last. And you're going, okay, we're talking about the draft. We're talking about 32nd. Great. There's no way. Look at their roster and look at the games they have to play, and then look at what Montreal and their games ahead. There's no chance Montreal's going to win. And there's no chance Arizona's going to. They're both going to lose out, and here we are. And holy shit, if both of those teams don't go on a tear. Montreal wins 2 of their last 3. Are you out of your mind? The Arizona Coyotes win 3 in a row.
And of course it happened now. And I was saying to some people, which by the way, thank you to everybody who rode the bus with us today. Everybody
so much fun.
Who we met on the Dos Equis deck. Everybody that we met just in the concourse at Gila River Arena.
It was so much fun.
It was so much fun. And we can't even tell you how much it means to us that you all came out and all said
and
hi.
There's some
over
here.
Hello. At the Lola. If you're still in Westgate watching this, come and say hi to us at the Lola. But, I don't even know what I was saying. I completely
No, but you know what? You look at this. You look at what happened tonight. And we talked about it. If it was 10 days ago, Leah, I was going to go, okay,
I remember.
They need to lose out. We want them to lose out because we want the draft pick. But then it got to be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And we got here tonight and we go, okay, it's the last game at Gila River Arena. It's the last game in Glendale. Let's have a good game. Let's be competitive. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
And holy shit, it was over. It was what? It was 3-0.
All of us sitting there together in the stands, and that's the section of the PHNX crew. We looked at each other. It was 3 goals in 3 minutes.
It was
what is
trouble.
Is this gonna be a 10-2 Nashville game?
Yeah, it was.
That's what it was trending toward.
I always believed.
Oh, yeah, you always believed because Sean live bet the Coyotes.
Sean live bet the Oats, money on him. But like this team has done over the last few weeks against really good teams that are in the playoffs and have something to play for. Like, they needed to win. Like, do you want to play Calgary or do you want to play Colorado? Well, yeah, you don't want to play the Colorado Avalanche right now.
Yeah.
And yet again, Coyotes win. Dallas needs to get in. With those points, Dallas needed to get into the playoffs. Did they win? No. Minnesota needs home ice advantage against St. Louis. They don't win. Like, it's unbelievable. So what the question is, and the important thing for me from this is, where does this take them for game one? This is game 82. It really doesn't mean anything. They're not moving up in the standings. It really doesn't solidify anything. It means nothing. But what does it mean for individual players going into game one for next year? Like, what does this do for a guy like McBain, who, by the way, gets another goal tonight? And I tell you what, he's an NHL player.
Yeah.
Like, with his size and speed and the way he gets to the net and the way he works, man, he's impressed me. Like, he's ready to go. Like, right now, if he's not the number 2 center for this team coming into training camp, I'd be surprised. So now it's guys are fighting for their way onto this roster. I tell you what, I as disappointing as this season was and how bad it was and how hard it was through 82 games, I don't see this next year. I don't see the same story for 82 games next year. I think there's too many young players that are playing well. I think there's too much speed, too much talent. I don't see this team fighting for 32nd next year. And I know this was tough, and it was tough for us to go through every game, and we laughed about it the first 8 games. We were getting their ass kicked, 8-2, 7-1, all of those things. I just don't think that's what's happening a year from now. And I think they're too young, too fast, and they're too competitive, and you saw it against other teams in the Central tonight. I don't know where this team fits next year, but I don't think it's last.
Really? You don't think it's last in the Central? You don't think it's last in the league?
I'm not ready to say, hey, this is the playoff team. I'm not ready. Like, no, we're not quite there yet.
But collapse for Connor. The plan.
Don't forget, Veggie's the goalie under contract.
And that's the hard part.
And that's something we haven't even talked about, is the fact that Karel Vejmelka was pulled in the first period after allowing 4 goals on 6 shots. But on the flip, Hari Saturi came in relief, although he's not necessarily part of the team next year. But I will say, in terms of performances from him, I know he just finally got his first win the other day, but in terms of performances from him, he was lights out tonight, and I'm really happy for him that he got to have his last showing in net for the Coyotes be this one, because he had some really, really tough games in that stretch. And the thing I was going to say before, when I got distracted by waving to people and recalling the day, was I was telling some people earlier when we were on the Dos Equis deck, couldn't they have sprinkled these wins throughout some of those really long losing streaks? Like, they matched their win total from 2014-15. They matched it. So 24 wins
By the
in each
way,
season.
they got 57 points. And 14-15, they have 56.
So they actually technically surpassed.
Not the worst team in history.
Which is unbelievable to think about.
From where they were a week ago?
Given what we watched.
From a week ago, Leah.
It's unbelievable.
There is no way, like you call the DraftKings Sportsbook app, there's no way I would have bet on that. There is zero chance. Although I did say, and I will say to Chris in the chat, I called this one. I did say they'd win this game. 5 minutes in, I wouldn't have said the same thing.
No.
They were just flat. They didn't have the puck. It was horrific. And more importantly, Veggie just was awful. And I won't even say, like, for a guy, like, it's his last game of the year, 3 of the first 4 shots go in the net. And it was almost like, did that just go in? Like, we were sitting on our seats going, did that just happen?
And it's funny because it's almost like I saw the cheering before I registered what was going on.
There's no way I thought that happened. And it's a concern for me. Like, Veggie, we go into next season, Veggie's the guy, clearly. He's got a 3-year contract at nearly $3 million. He had periods this year where he was unbeatable. We look at the game in Winnipeg where he makes 46 saves.
Unbelievable.
Fantastic. He had some of those great wins where he was really solid and he was a huge factor in those wins. But if you look what he's done over the last 15, from the day he signed that contract until now, it's been, like, his numbers are bad. Like, they're not just, oh, he's okay. They're bad. And so how do you walk away from the season if you're Vejmelka, you don't go, hey, there's something positive there. I've got something to build on. I've got something I can grab onto. That's my concern. There's nothing that he's like, hey, I can build some confidence from what happened over these games. No, you got pulled in the game 82. So I'm worried about that. I don't know what they're going to do for a backup next year. Do I think it's going to be Sattery? I don't. I don't think he survives. I don't think he's the guy that they lean on for next year. I wouldn't be surprised if Veggie's back. I think Scott Wedgwood, who's played fantastic for the Dallas Stars, I think he's probably a better option for this team for next year. I am worried about Veggie. I think he needs a real summer to grow. He's too like this. Like when he's good, he's good.
He needs to be more level.
100%.
And be more in the middle.
When he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he's bad.
Yeah. He just needs to be a little bit more.
And you know what? At 25, you expected that a little bit.
Yeah. And first year in North American ice, first year in the NHL. So
100% agree.
You hope that next year will be a more consistent year for him, because if you talk about you think the team is going to do better next year, he needs to be more toward when he was great this year.
100%. And he just needs to find that. He's got to find the ability to be more consistent. And he's a kid. He's still a 25-year-old kid that's never played in North America before. He's never been through this long of a season, this grueling of a season. And we saw at moments how athletic and quick and great he can be. I just hope they find a way that he can do that game after game after game, because he hasn't shown that at this point. And you know what? I mean, maybe this summer he goes away, works on his game, and good things can happen. But that was the difference tonight. I mean, I know they win the game 5-4, but to start off on a 4-0 hole, are you out of your mind? Like, against a team that's in the playoffs, there's no way they should have been able to get back in the game. And that's the same thing we could have said in the last game against Dallas. They shouldn't have been back in that game, and yet they do. And I credit the young kids, and it's McBain, and how about Boko Amama? Like on the first goal that makes it 4-1, he's scrapping and fighting, literally dropping his gloves off of the goal. Like, that's the kind of thing and the kind of exuberance I don't know if they would have had if they didn't have all of these role runners playing right now. Mm-hmm. If it's the same team that played game 1 through 20, I don't know if they're not going, hey, this season's over. Let's go. Mm-hmm. And now there's so many young guys that have something to play for, something to fight for, that they were able to perform this way and come back over the last few games. I think that was a big part of it.
Yeah, and you mentioned McBain getting the goal tonight. Carcone was another one who was on the score sheet tonight, and he's another one who's one of those Roadrunners players who came up looking for that opportunity. And it's funny because we talked to him in Tucson about a month before he came up with the team, and you could detect that energy and that drive from him. So in terms of talking about players who are going to be fighting for a spot on the roster next year, I don't know if, throw his name in the hat too, because...
And he's been an exciting guy since we talked about it. He was a personality down there in Tucson, and you've seen how he competes here, and you talk about J.J. Mosier's on the sheet again, McBain's on the sheet again. I'm not trying to say this team is ready to make the playoffs next year. I don't want to get that, like, oh my goodness, this team's right there. They got 31st out of 32. So I can pump the brakes and I can temper it a little bit. But I will say this. They have some young, exciting players that are competing and making this team fun to watch. And you put them in a smaller atmosphere at ASU, and you add a draft pick from this year. And, we talked about Dylan Gunther, what a season he's had. Gosh, I don't know. I just don't see this team struggling as bad as they did this year, except for their inability to stop goals from going into their net. And it's not just the goalie, because we talked about this all season long, is their ability to defend. And until they defend better, goaltending first, defending second, defending the rush third, until they clean that shit up, they're not ready. And that's the concern for me. Like, their exuberance and they're exciting, and those young kids, all of those things are great. But until they stop the bleeding from the defensive side, I don't know if they're ready. And it might be next year, it might be the year after, but the good news for Coyotes fans is it's close, and we can see the excitement, and it's coming, and their ability to have young, good, talented players is coming. It's just not there maybe next year. But we made it through this year, Leah.
We made it.
I know.
We did it. Everybody watching, we did it. We made it. 82 games, 24 wins.
I can't believe
what's the math on that? How many losses?
Leah,
the rest losses.
This is not the worst team in Coyotes history. I'm still stunned from a week ago.
So if the worst team in Coyotes history drafted Dylan Strome, what does that mean for this team?
I know. So
the draft lottery is on May 10th.
we will talk about the draft lottery a lot. We've been looking at the draft and we're looking at players. So here's the good news, if there is any good news. First, they have a lottery and the ping pong balls can go whichever way they may. But this is a draft where you don't have McDavid, you don't have Matthews, you don't have Sidney Crosby. This is a draft that's more even.
Yeah,
and
where you could hit on some players
Exactly.
later that, maybe in 5 years we'll look back and say, oh, that player got drafted at that position.
And that's your...
Yeah, you're right.
You look back at Lafreniere, who's in the New York Rangers system. He's Lafreniere. Nice pick.
Yeah.
But,
He's not that generation.
Kellen Carr was a pick.
Yeah.
It was a fourth pick.
Yeah.
So...
We're not saying the Coyotes are going to pick 4.
No. I mean,
but it statistically could happen.
Could happen. Could
Unfortunately.
happen. And if they do, they can still get a really good hockey player. And I think that's what, for this particular draft, if you're not going to get first, this draft's okay. If you're picking in the top 5, you're going to get a good hockey player. Now, we talked about Cooley, we talked about Logan Cooley and Shane Wright. Sorry. Shane Wright and Logan Cooley are the top 2, and they're centermen, and that's what this team needs. But if they don't get that, there's still really good players there at 3, 4, 5. So let's relax. We'll be there on May 10th when they draw the ping pong balls and all that shit happens. We'll be there, but don't panic yet, because the year to panic is next year. If we get the number 1 next year, then good. Oh boy. Good.
Why'd you just?
No, I just said, "Oh boy," because
I thought you were making.
No,
room
I didn't know
for
what the hell was
someone,
going on over
'cause
there.
You're looking this way and
Just
scooting.
looking. What's going on in the?
Anyway, well, speaking of statistic anomalies, so here's a fun fact about tonight's game. The last time the Coyotes trailed by 4 goals and won was February 8th, 2002. That's 20 years ago.
Prior to Gila River Arena.
They won 6-5 against LA in that game. So this is only...
It was 5-1.
So this
I remember that game.
So what happened tonight literally hasn't happened in
Since
20
2002. Never happened here
years.
at Gila River. Ever.
So like I said, out with a bang. Why not? Well, we're talking a lot about the future, which we will continue to do because we will not stop the level of content we've been putting out. We will still have shows 5 days a week, even in the off season, even when the Coyotes aren't playing. But we do this is the last post-game show of the 2021-2022 season. So let's talk a little bit more about what happened in this game. And for the last time this season, let's look at tonight by the numbers. I mean, look at that. 5-4. And by the way, PD Cy count. Size canceled out by all the fun had.
True, fair point. That's
and
fair.
maybe all the beers had too.
There were some beers.
There were some beers.
The party bus, there was some beers.
There were beers on the party bus. But look, I mean, in the end, it was pretty even. Their shot output in the first period was not great. Only 2 shots, I think, in the first 10 minutes or so. Ended that first period 10-6 Nashville. It's tied in the second period, and then 27 shots on goal. And Nashville, I'm sure they're not thrilled with what they ended up letting in. But overall, I mean,
again, when you look at the numbers, another great night by the penalty kill. So again, we're looking for small victories, but shit, they won the game. Like I'm always sitting here we'll try to find something positive. We'll try to look at somebody that performed well. We'll try to look at something that we can build on. The penalty kill, 2 for 2 again tonight, but they won the game. I'm still stunned that they won this game because every team that this team beat over the last week are teams that needed to win for whatever reason getting into the playoffs. These are really good hockey teams. They're playoff-bound teams. They're teams that could potentially do really well over the next few weeks. They need to win, and yet they can't beat a depleted Arizona lineup with 11 American Leaguers, 2 college kids, and a goalie that ended up being from the Olympic Games. Like, how are they not winning these games? Like, these teams need to win. So I'm concerned and curious to see how these Central Divisions teams play in the playoffs, because we're looking at teams 2, 3, 4, and 5 that the Coyotes either beat or lost in overtime in the last week. The only team that didn't play in the last week is Colorado. Well, and by the way, Colorado's losing so much right now that maybe they would have.
They lost again tonight.
They lose 4 of their last 5. I don't know. Can we restructure the playoffs? Can we start over? Like, can the Coyotes get a chance? Like, I don't know. It's really good to see them compete that well against good teams this late in the year when you could have easily given up, and they didn't give up.
They did not. By the way, comment from Chris. Petey did indulge in an adult beverage or 5.
You can't prove that.
What's the over-under on the number of drinks that you consumed tonight?
You literally can't prove that.
We can't because you disappeared. You went down below and visited with some people,
get a visit
which
some
we'll
people.
talk about in a little bit. But in terms of goal scoring tonight, again, we've talked about this for the last few weeks with all of the main people you would expect to see on the score sheet, Keller, Krause, out of the lineup. Once again, Gostisbehere, Boyd, McBain, Carcone, those are the players on the score sheet. But for Shayne Gostisbehere, he scored the Coyotes' opening goal of this game as well as the last one. So some bookends, both goals from Galchenyuk, which is great for him. He ended the season with 14 goals, which is a good year for him, especially considering what he came over for, which was essentially nothing. And it was also a 3-game point streak for him coming into tonight with his points tonight. And because of all of that, as our last DraftKings King of the Game of the season goes to Shayne Gostisbehere with his 2 goals. And he had it quite a few times. He wore the crown quite a few times this season. And I want to give an honorable mention to Saturi because he did have a really great performance.
Yeah, and after coming back after giving up 4 goals, and by the way, I don't even know if Vejmelka worked up a sweat. Like, he was out of the game so fast. And for Saturi to come in and go, oh shit, last game of the year, what am I going to do? And he was rock solid. Like, he was steady. I think the ice started to get tilted a little bit the other direction once he got in there, which is great. And I don't know if he faced as many difficult shots as what Veggie had to face in the first 4 minutes. But yeah, good on him. Saturi definitely is the second king of the game. But you look at Shayne Gostisbehere. He's a guy over the last 3 years with Philadelphia really struggled offensively. He had troubles putting the puck in the net. He's an offensive defenseman. They go, okay, we need to get rid of him. So they get rid of him, and not only do they get rid of him, we get a draft pick out of it. Great.
Just what the Coyotes have been wanting all year.
And so what does he do? He puts up his second highest career total in goals. He only bested that in 15-16. His real first year in the league was his best offensive output. And here he is tonight getting 14 goals on the season. There is no way that I would have thought Shayne Gostisbehere would have got 14 goals this season. Led the back end, which we thought was going to be Jacob Chiersten, who was MIA for the last 20 games. I mean, we won't talk about Jacob tonight. We'll talk about him more as the season goes on. I don't see Jacob Chiersten playing another game for the Arizona Coyotes. I think he's done. I think he will be traded before the draft, but that's another story. Shayne Gostisbehere came in, rejuvenated his career, became a leader on this team, and we've got him for another year. So I think that's great news, especially with all of the young defensemen that are coming up and are going to get the opportunity to play next season. And you talked about J.J. Moldry, Connor Timmins, Mayo, Deneen. Like, look at these are all guys that are 25.
Yeah.
Like, the future is so bright here. If everybody can just hang on, and they've got to get better goaltending when they're ready to win.
Yep.
That's my biggest fear, is they got to get better goaltending when they're ready to win. And that's not next year. So we'll pump the brakes, and we'll do this all again for 82 games. 82 more games of this. I don't know if I can do it.
But you just said it's not going to be as bad.
I don't think it will be.
So we can do it.
I don't think it will be as bad. I think it's going to be fun.
You know what? This one by in the blink of an eye. I can't believe we're already at game 82. And by the way, $20 super chat from John, who said, Petey, it was great meeting you between the first and the second period.
Wow.
We met so many amazing people tonight.
John.
Seriously,
John, thank you.
Everybody we talked to, everybody who we didn't talk to but was just there. I can't even tell you how great of a time we had tonight getting to meet everyone and just seeing how the PHNX community has grown so much over the course of this last season. This team, I know it's not the worst team ever, but it was second worst, and it was a really, really bad team, and we all got through it together.
Here's the thing, like, Leah, you and I and this guy who's finally shows up. Good afternoon.
Where's your white coat?
I know.
I really wanted to play the elevator Craig thing one last time, but
we didn't get to play the elevator thing.
No. I feel like we're here to diagnose. The doctors are in.
Yeah.
And we've
Buddy,
diagnosed.
you said black.
I did wear black during the game.
Know.
And I wore white here.
I went by your recommendation. I wore black. Turn out the lights. Good deal.
I did both.
I don't have a white suit. Sorry.
We missed the jersey giveaway thing. How was that?
It was cool. It was cool. I thought they were going to start stripping and giving everything on their backs after a while. It was crazy to watch, but it was cool. It was a really cool connection with the fans. A ton of people stayed after the game just to connect. The building was electric tonight. After they came back, it was really good. Yeah.
But don't you think, Craig, after 5 minutes in, you're like, oh, shit. Like, what are we doing here? Like, let's go home. We'll start again next year. But I tell you, the crowd got into it. The team got into it. And it was, as you said, it was an electric way to close out this building. And you know what? Honestly, I'm really happy they got a win in their last game of the year because it didn't matter. Montreal, by the way, Montreal won 2 of their last 3. Just throwing that out there. But
how mad would we have been if the Coyotes could have lost this game and gotten the 32nd and they won it? So at least they won it, and we can sit here and say, "Wow, that was great."
Yeah, and I think it was a good. It's again 3 wins in a row against very good competitive Central Division teams that are going to the playoffs. And you know what? The Coyotes were just able to hang on and continue to compete. And I don't know if those teams gave up. I don't know if those teams go, okay, this game's over. It's a bad team. I don't know what happened exactly, but they were able to beat teams that are in the playoffs. And I guess that's a good something to hang on to over the summertime to get us ready for the fall.
Yeah, and even the St. Louis game, right? They came back and forced overtime in that game. So it's 4 straight playoff games, playoff teams. You got 7 of 8 points against them. So pretty encouraging. And Andre just said it. We talked to Andre Turgi, obviously, in the post-game interviews. And he said, you saw where we were 2 weeks ago. And if I had asked you to bet money that we were going to get 7 of 8, I probably would have had to beg you, Craig, because they looked awful. They were getting boat raced every game. Then they come back and play like this. Again, there's the whole tank angle that we can talk about. And
we've talked about it plenty.
I mean, Shayne Wright, you want, right? You'd like to have Shayne Wright above all those other players, but had someone make the point to me today. It was Bill Armstrong that made the point to me tonight that, look, these players at the top, they're probably in the same sort of group, right? And if we look at this, look at what the scouts are saying about them, you can't say that there's a Sidney Crosby or a Connor McDavid.
That's literally exactly what Petey said.
There's not elite players. So I think they're okay drafting in the top 4. They feel like they're going to get a really good player, and then we'll see what happens with those other 2 teams, with Colorado and Carolina in particular. I'm really interested to see what happens in that Boston-Carolina series.
Carolina draws Boston off the top again, and that's been their nemesis all along. It's not inconceivable to say Carolina gets knocked out earlier and there's a higher draft pick for the Arizona Coyotes. It's not inconceivable at this point. Colorado, I think they're a team that's got a ways to go. I mean, Colorado's a good hockey team. But Carolina, to me, I don't know, that Eastern Conference is so equal and so level, and they're all good enough to win. The Boston Bruins team is one of the hottest teams in the league over the last month.
Yep.
So does that improve? Great for Coyotes. Yeah.
So imagine if they get bounced in the first round. You're suddenly picking in the 20s, and they'll take that.
So let's root for, if you're not sure, we're going to root for the Boston Bruins in round 1.
Right. How is Nashville not motivated, by the way, tonight to win this game? When
we talked about that, Craig.
Colorado or Calgary? You obviously want Calgary. Not that Calgary's an easy out, but it's Colorado. Unbelievable. You blow a 4-0 lead.
Just the number of things that the Coyotes have ruined for teams. We talked about them ruining home ice for Minnesota, ruining this for Nashville. So I don't know. It's kind of fun at this point, because there was nothing to gain or to lose for the Coyotes. Might as well play spoiler. Might as well end it on a good note.
Pellegrino, by the way.
Sorry, we didn't.
I'm
we
kidding.
didn't get your.
I'm kidding. Where are the snacks? Mac, where are the snacks?
There are no Nutter Butters here.
There's no Nutter Butters.
Michaela said he's asking me for the snacks.
Somewhere out there, deposit I can't see.
Somewhere, the voice of God behind the Mac, which is how he introduced himself to Paul Bissonnette when Paul Bissonnette stopped by the Dos Equis tonight. Which, thank you, Biz, for stopping by.
Because he's listening for sure, right?
Yeah.
On his drive home.
100%.
So I got to tell you this story. I was hoping to get, and Josh Doan obviously spent enough time with the PHNX crew already. I was hoping to have him come over and drag his dad over. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And then he texts me and says, yeah, my dad's talking to people, and you know what that means.
Yeah. We do know what that means.
Shayne will be the last one out of the arena again tonight.
Attempts were made.
It's hard, and it's hard being the last game in the building. And as I walked in tonight, and I came earlier in the day today to Glendale, and I had lunch with some staff people here, and And I thought, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go to the game tonight and I won't see anybody. Well, shit, we get
You
off the
got
bus.
off the bus, the first person you saw you knew.
It was a parking guy.
Yeah.
And I went from there. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And then for a moment, I want to say I got verklempt and I was going to cry, but it was a pretty, I can't explain how important this building was to me and my son over the last 20 years. And my son actually got to work the game tonight, and I got an opportunity to see him during the game. He came up to the Dos Equis deck. We got a picture together. It was an interesting moment. It was an interesting day. I'm glad it ended on a win, and I'm glad the crowd got to be excited, and I'm glad the crowd got to be loud, and they got to be into it, because at 4-0, the people around us were not happy. And you look at the way it turned in the second and the third, and you're like, okay, this is fun. Now, remember, we all were there during playoff hockey. Remember what that's like?
Yeah.
You got just a tiny, tiny, tiny little taste of it today. That's hope. There's hope that this is going to be a playoff team at some point in the future.
Shayne Gostisbehere and Travis Boyd both talked about how that was probably the loudest crowd they've heard in that arena all year, which is both sad and cool. You know, it was a nice way to go out, but they were talking about the fact that they're going into that small arena now. They really think that place is going to rock, and they're actually both looking forward to it. Two good guys to talk to tonight, because Travis Boyd, first of all, this is the first time he's had any sort of opportunity with the team, and he scored 17 goals this year.
I mean, I would never have predicted that. Never in a million years at the start of the season.
And as a Toronto fan, you know what he did there. You know who he was there. He was maybe a fourth-line center.
I don't like being pegged as a Toronto fan.
All right.
I don't ask for that.
Okay. But you're right. And you look what happens next. And I think it's so important for all of these periphery players. And we'll talk about Boyd's a periphery player. He's not going to be in their future when they're starting to go for the cup. Right. He's not. Right. And you talk about Anton Strome, another player that's not going to be there when they're ready to win. But they're very key and very important people right now to bridge that gap from here to there. And Anton Strome, again, I thought he was good again tonight. He's a guy. I hope they are able to sign him, because I think he's an important piece to get them through this mess.
I think that's in the works. I really do think that's in the works. I think we're going to hear something on that in the near future. But Gostisbehere is the other one that I mentioned. He had 2 goals tonight, including the game winner. Talk about a redemption season for him. I mean, he was left for dead in Philadelphia. They just shed his contract down. That's all that they did. They wanted his contract off the books. And now, I mean, look, there are parts of his defensive game that you can look and say, yeah, he's still deficient in those areas. But the guy can run a power play, and he can provide offense for you. And when we get to next year's trade deadline, if he's still playing like this, they're going to get some more assets for a player who has some value on the market.
I wonder if the Philadelphia Flyers are looking right now going, easy, did we really? That's what we did?
Things didn't go too well in Philly, did they?
No,
definitely did not.
Yeah, they struggled, and they didn't have the offense from the defense. And I know that's what they wanted from Gostisbehere, and they thought he is done. Clearly, he is not. Tonight was a huge game for him, and now we've got the Coyotes have him under contract for another year.
Yeah,
you've got Strome and this guy that I think they're going to try to lock up. Then you're looking at 4 guys that are potentially under 25 years old playing on the back end to grow and build. You got Timmins, you got Mayo, you got Deneen. I don't think Chiersten will be a part of that, but you've got so many young guys coming, mentored by 2 guys that have been there. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, and I'm trying to stay over my skis here. You look at this and go, shit, there's hope. They're really, for the first time in a long time, for a team that finished 31st to go, McBain was great again tonight.
Yeah, he had a good game.
Nathan Smith's a kid. I don't know if he's but he works.
Yeah.
Nathan's a player. He's just, McBain's going to be a guy you notice more. McBain's ready.
He goes to those areas,
He's
too.
physical. Yeah. He's heavy.
Yeah.
He skates well enough. He's big enough. He's ready today.
Yeah.
Nathan Smith needs a little more time, which is fine. But you talk about Dylan Gunther coming. You got how many draft picks next year coming? You got Michelli, you got Coney. You go, holy shit, maybe?
They got to nail it, right? They got to nail this summer. And that's what my column is going to be about tomorrow.
You got to nail the draft.
This is where the work begins.
Got to nail the draft.
They got through this horrible, painful to watch season. now they got to go to work. And it's management and scouts, obviously, but there's work for the coaches and players as well. That's what I'm writing about tomorrow.
And you wait to see where these other first round picks end up. And we've always thought they were going to be 31st or 32nd. They may not be, because of the Carolina situation we talked about. So they may be higher picks. They may be mid first round, but they're guaranteed a top high end draft pick for the first time in a while. They can't miss. Like that is a huge pick. And so you hope that Bill Armstrong and the scouting staff that he's compiled, We've seen it, Craig. We've seen it. Like, we've seen how important that pick is. They can't miss again. And Don Maloney said in your article he wishes that it would have been different for his drafting, because they had different scouting staff and their development staff. Those two things, Don Maloney said, gosh, he blamed himself, and it's not fair.
Right.
But they can't miss again. Yep. They don't have that luxury this time.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we've been talking about looking forward to playing meaningful hockey, which I can't wait for this team. There were glimpses of today where the crowd was into it, and I know this game really meant nothing, but where you just feel that that feeling in your chest of you wanting it to go well. And the NHL playoffs start, I think, on Monday already.
Monday night.
Let's go. Is so exciting.
One day after that critical Winnipeg-Seattle game.
Yeah, Winnipeg-Seattle on Sunday.
I'm going to be setting an alarm for that one, for sure. Yeah, we'll do a post-game show for that, too. Just kidding. But the NHL playoffs started, like I said, and the NBA playoffs are already in full swing, so it's a really, really exciting time to bet on games, because there's just games all the time in the first round. It's literally my favorite time of the year is the first round of the NHL playoffs. And if you want to bet, be sure to sign up for the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code PHNX, and new customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets instantly. You win no matter what. Plus, place the same game parlay each day with 3 or more legs and get up to $25 back if one leg doesn't hit. So be sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code PHNX, bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game, and get $150 in free bets instantly. As always, that's 21 and over. Arizona only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And I want to get to a question in the comments here. Ask this in the Discord. Have the Coyotes officially won the Dylan Strome trade?
I don't know. I mean, Strome got 22 goals this year. He played on a line with DeBrincat and Kane.
Yeah.
He was an effective player on their power play. He's become their number one center.
But he didn't have the production of a number one center.
No.
Yeah.
But so now it becomes, because Perlini clearly is not part of, Perlini's a throw-in. So it's Strome for Schmaltz. Can we confidently say the Coyotes are a clear winner of that?
No, you can't. But Nick Schmaltz had 59 points in 64 or 5 games this year. He was almost
high
a point
for him.
Yeah,
Career
almost
high.
a point per game player. And again, a lot of the season when he came back, he got to play with Clayton Keller.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a true center between them. They didn't have a true top 6 center between them. I wonder what those guys could look like. And honestly, Petey, if you're looking at this, maybe Clayton Keller's a top line player down the road. Maybe he is. But if you could put a center between those guys, and that could be your second line.
Yeah. I mean, you look
the
at
matchups you could see.
Schmaltz played his best hockey when he's playing with Clayton Keller. Period.
No question.
And they were playing most of that hockey with Boyd in the middle. And we all talked about how much we love Travis Boyd. We like, what a great season he had. There is not anybody is going to say Travis Boyd's the number one center.
Nope.
In the National
Or
Hockey
number
League.
2.
So what if they get that guy? Yeah, I do think Schmaltz is a better player than I do. And I know his production waned once we saw Keller go down. He needs people around him to make him better. But that's not the only player in the National Hockey League you can say that about. So do you have hope going into next season with a healthy Keller? Yeah.
Yeah.
But who's going to be number one center?
I don't know. Right now, I mean, like, if they get, not necessarily lucky, but if they draft according to their spot, how would Logan Cooley look between those two guys on a second line?
And here's the bigger
question. He's an
question.
exciting player. He's a dynamic player.
So we were talking about Shane Wright and Logan Cooley, both 1 and 2 centers. Do they play next year?
I don't know. Do you
Like,
want to put them in this
usually they do.
situation? But don't you want to?
I don't know.
Don't you want to have some high draft picks again the following year before you start climbing the ladder?
Right.
You really need to. I know it's painful. I know it's hard to hear.
Yeah.
But if you want to build a franchise, you need some of those top picks.
And it's hard because you've got so much pressure to put that number 1 or number 2 pick and play that next year. It's what people expect to do, but they're 18.
Right.
Like, and is this the best situation? Whether they pick 1, 2, 3, or 4, putting that person in this situation right now, what they're trying to do, is that favorable for that person's career long term? And I don't know if that's the right path.
Yeah.
So if they pick 3 or 4, we'd love to see Logan Cooley. Trust me, love to see Logan Cooley. I just don't. If they get Logan Cooley, is he ready to play?
Yep.
I don't know.
I feel like that's a conversation we need to have after the draft, depending on who they draft. And it's funny talking about Schmaltz and Keller and their chemistry. There's something that actually Sean pointed out to me. So we got the yearbooks today, and every player has some fun questions in there, and they had matching answers for a lot of the fun things. So
really?
What was it? The goal song, Sean?
Both of their goal songs are "What's Poppin'" by Jack Harlow.
Yeah. So you just know that they probably have a good friendship and a good relationship off the ice, and we've been talking about.
By the way, What's Poppin' is also at the top of Craig's Spotify list.
Sure, of course.
For those keeping score at home.
It is also how I walk into basically every room. What's Poppin'?
By the way, how good is his mic when we're doing this?
I know.
That's money. By the way, Sean, that's money.
So should we address the elephant in the room? You mentioned how the fans were unhappy after the first period and they were down 4-0.
Oh, my.
What'd you think of that? Javier Gutierrez got on the mic for an interview, and the fans were booing.
I was surprised.
Yeah, me too.
And it wasn't just a little bit. Like, it was like Gary Bettman style booing. Like, it was a chorus of boos from one end to the other on Javier.
What's your read on that? Were you hearing a lot of West Siders unhappy with the team leaving?
I don't know if it's West Siders unhappy with the team. I don't know if it's people unhappy that are playing in ASU in a smaller building. I don't know what the bid draws from.
Season tickets at the
All
new
those
arena,
are possibilities.
and the lack of accessibility to get to go to games next year.
Oh boy, were they unhappy!
They sure were.
I was stunned.
I was too.
Yeah,
and it was. I don't know if I've ever the last. I used to. It's funny, Craig. You'll remember Norm Green.
Yeah.
So I used to be a Minnesota North Stars fan.
Yeah.
And Norm saved the day and was a great owner, and they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. And then guess what? Norm decided we're going to move from the state of Minnesota to Texas. People didn't like Norm that much after that. Yep. So people would boo Norm at the games, and that's the first time I felt that same kind of vibe. You're like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. Like, and it was. He was down on ice level getting interviewed by the in-arena host, and you're like, oh my God, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was awkward, especially because they'd been interviewing Jeremy Roenick and Shane Doan, and everyone was, enjoying that and taking it all in, and it was such a great atmosphere seeing all of those players returning, McCulloch, Whitney, Bids, like so many players. So the overall vibe going into the night was really positive, and they were showing all those other interviews, and everyone was cheering, seeing them on the Jumbotron, and all of a sudden that happens. I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah, so I'm curious to know what the underlying feeling is. Is it because they're leaving here? Is it because of ASU?
If anyone here is watching or listening who did take part in the booing, I would just like to know why.
What motivated it?
Yeah.
I got to believe a part of it is West Siders, not being happy. I talked to a couple people who thought that that's what it was, but it could be multiple factors. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want to speculate, to be honest.
Surprised.
I was just surprised,
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've said it 100 times already.
I booed when Craig was on Else, by the way. That was totally different. That was personal. Where's your white coat, Craig?
Oh, my God. Someone said earlier, Craig never coordinates with the
I know he does
Also, you were getting a lot of support for your tie
It's a good tie. That's a solid tie.
It's a great tie.
There we go.
It's a great tie.
Well, I don't wear white.
Solid tie.
Not your color?
No.
Oh, well. Well, we've talked 100 times already about that this is the last game at Gila River Arena. And the last 10 home games, we've been counting down the top 10 moments.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about
Arena,
that.
And we have to crown moment number 1, which I'm kind of glad tonight worked out the way it did.
Yeah,
because the number 1 moment at Gila River Arena in Coyotes history, of course, was tonight. It was special from start to finish, like I said, with all those former players they brought out onto the ice before the game. It was an unbelievable crowd, a huge comeback win. I mean, you really couldn't have asked for anything better for a send-off game.
Yeah. The Coyotes still own the Preds?
I think it was good for this franchise for that win. I think if you're going to leave this building, and you know what? I don't remember this kind of emotion. I don't remember this kind of, when the team left America West Arena and moved out here, I don't remember this. I don't remember the, oh my goodness, we're leaving America West and everybody let's have a moment like we're having tonight. But there was that moment tonight.
Yeah, it's a long history too, right? I mean, It's 19 years and there's so much drama. There's so much drama over those 2 decades. It's insane. Somebody's throwing something at me. I think Mac's throwing something at me.
But Craig, it's
funny
funny
about the snacks question earlier. So
when you read your article, Craig, and you talk about all of the things that were city council and votes and all of the shit that's involved here, when I look at this building, and I spent time here today, it's a building.
Yeah.
And when I'm going to leave here, it's not the building, it's not Glendale, it's the people and the moments that I had and the experience that I had in the building with the people that I shared them with. That's what's important to me. So I am, first of all, I'll say this to PHNX, so thankful that I had tonight to be able to say goodbye to this building. Without PHNX, there is no way I'm coming to this game. Zero chance I'm coming to see this, what I went through tonight. There's no way I would have come. I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
I got to say goodbye to some people that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to say goodbye to, people I haven't seen in years, and it was really meaningful to me. So thank you to PHNX for that. But that takes this further. It's just a building.
Yeah.
The moments are created by the people and the people you share those moments with. So we'll create those at ASU. We'll create them in Tempe. We'll create them wherever the hell this team lands. We'll create more memories with the same people. And that's what's important, is there are more memories to come for this team. And I hope they're really, really good, fun ones. I can't wait for a playoff game again after seeing tonight.
When I think about this building, look, it's hard to ignore that. And Mike Johnson said it best: as a franchise spinning its wheels for 2 decades, it felt like lost opportunity when you could have been growing, you could have been developing, you could have been gaining a foothold in the Valley. At the same time, when you go back to how they got to be here in the first place, and you think about what the other possibility was, you were there.
Yeah.
Jeff Heck talked about it in the story. The NHL was like, you got to get this solved, or we're going to move the team to.
We're leaving.
Yeah. Yep. So,
but don't you think,
props to the city of Glendale, right, for stepping up. Maybe it wasn't the best financial decision in the end for the city of Glendale, but they stepped up and they helped the Coyotes stay in the Valley, and maybe that'll pay dividends somewhere down the road.
You brought up something I think we need to mention, and I know, like we joke and poke fun at Glendale sometimes, but without Glendale, this team's gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're not here.
Yep.
We're not having this show. We're not talking about the Coyotes. They're gone. So let's be thankful a little bit to the Glendale City Council, the mayor of Glendale at the time, Elaine Scruggs. Without them, they're not here. So thank you, Glendale, for that. And it's a beautiful building. It's just, unfortunately, it's difficult to access for everybody. And I know there's great fans here. I talked to some of them tonight. I talked to a gentleman that lived right down the street.
Yeah.
He said, I'm a few miles from here. I don't know how I'm going to get to Tempe. I get it. But the hockey dollar, the hockey money, the hockey people in this Valley, unfortunately, are on the east side.
Yep.
And they need that to make financial stability so that they can put money into the team so they can finally win. It makes sense.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
And how do they maintain that connection? They still need to maintain a connection with the West Valley. You can't say, see you later.
Right.
Yeah, we're ignoring you, because this should still be a part of your fan base. It's going to be really interesting to see how they manage the next few years playing in a tiny building where there simply isn't access for a lot of fans. They need to maintain that touch with their fan base, and it's going to be hard with only
what I think
5,000 fans.
One of the things we're going to have to talk about over the next few months is how the hell is that going to happen? There are people tonight that I talked to that said there's no way I'm going to be able to go to those games. I can't go. Yeah. Whether it's difficult to get into the building or it's the cost to attend. And I understand that. But there are no upper level seats that are a little more affordable. So what is this team going to do to bridge that time between now and the time that they're in their bigger building, where now we have 16,000 people, we're accommodating 5. Now we got to get 11,000 more people. Hey, okay, we're ready now. Come on. Like, that's the part I'm concerned about. How are they going to continue to build this fan base when they're unable to get those people to watch live? And moreover, we've talked about the inability for people to access Valley sports.
Yeah, and people are commenting about that right now.
Yeah, and how are they going to watch the team if they can't access Valleys? And it's not just an Arizona problem. Valley sports, and we're talking about blackouts from baseball, blackouts from hockey. It's a problem.
Yeah, no question. And I listen, I want to make this clear that it's not the people at Bally that are making that happen.
No,
we know.
no.
I work there. There are good people there.
100%.
It's I'm going to say it because they can't say it. It's their parent company, Sinclair, that is making it difficult on fan bases across the country. But for a team like the Coyotes, you got to figure that out. And maybe you need to band with some of the other teams and say, hey, we need a solution here, or we might have to find our own solution because this isn't working. This isn't serving our fan base.
Yeah, because if they don't have access to this team for the next 3 years, they are going to lose fans, period. Whether they're a winning team, losing team, if they don't have access to the team and they're just a forgotten team, it's going to be a problem. So it's something that's going to need to be addressed for sure.
And on the subject, while we're talking about the history of this franchise in Glendale, I mean, it was kind of already announced today, but we also get to announce it today. Debuting next week is a brand new podcast on the PHNX network, and we are talking about The Story. So next week, you guys, Chiersten Susel, who's sitting just off to the side, I don't even know if she can hear us right now, but is debuting The Story, and it's all about the Coyotes' journey in Arizona and how things unfolded, and she talked to some unbelievable people. It's going to be an amazing series. I've heard
We've all heard it. It's good. It's really good.
It's absolutely phenomenal. So stay tuned for that. It's launching next week on PHNX. So be sure to be following PHNX Sports across all social platforms for that launch. It's going to be unbelievable.
Well, it's a lot of what Craig put in his article, but you get to hear from the people.
You get to hear their voices, and it's you know, it's an audio. It's hours long of interviews, and you know, it's just absolutely unbelievable.
It's how we got here.
Yeah. It's pretty much exactly how we got to this very moment. So it's really, really exciting, and can't wait for the story. So shout out Chiersten. It's amazing. She was here tonight at the final game as well. So we appreciate all of your support. And also, I've said it already, just because the season's over doesn't mean that PHNX's coverage of the Coyotes is over. We will still have live shows 3 times a week, audio episodes twice a week, 5 shows a week. It's not stopping. We were waiting to tell you till right now, so you wouldn't run out on us.
This was it. I thought we were done.
Nope, we're still here. And
you'll be off to wherever with ESPN now doing the playoffs.
Well, we're gonna talk about that soon because there's a lot of good stuff coming.
But Craig's gonna continue to write amazing content, and the Suns playoffs run is kicking off. So Gerald has amazing stuff. The Cardinals draft. They're in the midst of it, so amazing content from them. So be sure to become a member at gophnx.com now if you haven't already. You can get a shirt when you sign up for an annual membership, or you can try your first month just 50 cents if you want to try month to month. We saw the Josh Doan shirts today for the first time in person. They're amazing. A lot of people got those today. I said to Josh, is it weird to see yourself on a shirt? He was like, this is so bizarre. But it was great having Josh out today as well, and seeing just all the PHNX shirts here, just also to see, we finally used our press seats for the second time this year.
Yep.
But just
we had a whole crew up there. Mac was up there.
Yeah, but just
Emma was up there. We had a lot of people up at the box.
But just for the first night that we were here on the first game this season to this last night, just the number of PHNX shirts we saw, the number of people who stopped us on the concourse, the number of people who came out on the bus, who came to the Dos Equis deck. It's just amazing to see how much this PHNX community has grown, and I'm just so grateful.
And I will say this too, because we talk about hockey content, and we understand where the Arizona Coyotes fit in the landscape of sports in Phoenix. We get it. Like, we understand, hey, it's a Suns town, it's a Cardinals town, whatever. But if you want to hear about this team, and you want to talk about this team, and you want to hear what's going on with this team, honestly, there's nowhere to get that. Like, you can't find out. You want to put on your terrestrial radio and try to get it on a sports drive time? No. They're going to be talking Cardinals and Suns. And I'm not trying to belittle that. I'm just saying.
It's true, though. Yeah.
But it's true. And we talk about it 5 days a week. There is, if you want to know about Coyotes, and if you've got a friend that listens to Coyotes or wants to care about Coyotes or wants to care about hockey, let them know we're out here, because we're going to do this all summer. We got the ping pong balls dropping May 10th. We got
That's the next thing.
The draft in July, and we're going to talk about hockey 5 days a week. Until then, we're going to talk about the Stanley Cup getting awarded. We're going to talk about playoffs. There's so many things, free agent signings, trades, and we will be here literally every step of the way. So if you're not listening, well, clearly if you're not listening, you're not listening to this, but tell people to listen. If you want to hear about hockey, this is really good content. Craig Morgan writes breaking news nationally, and he's here. He's here. So if you want to hear what happens first in the Arizona Coyotes hockey, it's going to happen here, period. End. Okay, that was it.
I love that. Love
Done.
that little soapbox moment. And the coverage starts Monday. We're going to be back Monday.
Monday?
Yep.
Shit.
Playoff preview, baby.
Yeah, we're gonna
Your
continue to talk about the NHL news because there is a lot of it that's relevant to Arizona, but also it's just really great to see what's going on in the rest of the league. There's a lot of former Coyotes who are going to be playing in the playoffs as well. So Monday at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. is going to be our live show time going forward for the time being. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. And then we'll have audio episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We already have some draft experts lined up. Can I say who they are?
Sure.
We have Chris Peters and Craig Button coming back on. And we also have Corey Pronman is going to be joining us as well. And just next week, we have former head of scouting for the Coyotes, Tim Bernhardt coming on. So just a lot of great guests already lined up. And from, we'll recap the season a little bit, but then it's right toward the future.
I don't want to recap this season.
Are we done?
I'm out.
Okay,
I'm done.
Sure. Then so this was the recap of the season.
Recap. It's over.
Hey, by the way, what did they finish? What was their point total? Was it 57?
It was one ahead.
So one ahead of 14-15.
This was not the worst
we talked
Coyotes
about it already.
team. Yep.
So I'm still worked for a team that's last.
Shit.
By the way, this is like the most
14-15 Coyotes.
Sworn on a show
I know,
in a while.
sorry.
Hey, 14-15 Coyotes, you can pop the champagne again tonight. You're still the worst team in history.
For God's
We
yeah,
should
way to
wrap
go.
this up
We'll call Dave Tippett and let him
off the
know.
rails.
Yay.
That's
Oh
right.
Did we see a
my
punch
God.
card yet, Leah?
We should tell
No.
him, hey, buddy,
Oh.
you've still coached the worst team
Which,
in
by the
Coyotes
way,
history.
and before we wrap up, let's just see some photos from tonight because it was a really great night. First of all, we were welcomed in the building on the Jumbotron.
Nice.
Welcome PHNX. That was awesome. We also there's the crew in the crowd. That was right after all the 4 goals, so the vibes were low, but the vibes were high in our little section. We were having a blast.
Absolutely.
There, the last puck drop, which I'm sure will be an iconic photo one day. The last puck drop
With Anton Strome taking the draw.
Yeah,
Nice.
noted Coyote.
Noted center.
Yep, and all of the alumni there as well. So really great to see. And if you missed any of the content from tonight, at PHNX_Coyotes on Twitter, all the content was there. I think we lost a cam, so we will end this one. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for joining us all season long. 82 post-game shows. We got through it together. We could not have gotten through it without everybody contributing in the live chat. Seriously, we appreciate you more than you can ever know. Everyone in the Discord as well, everyone who was here tonight. It was an unbelievable year, and I can't wait when we can all do this together when this team is a winning team. And it will happen. It will. So
Keep the faith.
yeah, leave it to
Hey, that's me.
That's okay. No, I'm used to it.
Okay.
It's okay. It's fine.
Oh my
Whatever.
gosh.
All right, we're off the rails
All right,
here.
well, from all of us here at PHNX, thank you so much. Follow us on Twitter at PHNX_Coyotes. Follow PHNX Sports across all platforms. Subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube because we will be back live on Monday. We'll not be missing a step at all. Everyone, we made it. 82 games, year 1 of the tank, year 1 of the rebuild. We did it, and everybody, we'll see you on Monday.
Punch
Have a good
card
weekend.
complete.